All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning, I'm Sunil Verma and with me is Saira Mujtaba. The headlines. Fourth round of talks between central government and farmers to be held in New Delhi today. Country's COVID recovery rate reaches 94.03%. Britain becomes first country in the world to approve coronavirus vaccine. A US Congress panel blames China for planning Galwan Valley clash. All arrangements in place for a cyclonic storm Burevi likely to hit Tamil Nadu coast tonight. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news. Fourth round of talks between the government and farmers' representatives will be held in New Delhi today. The third round of talks between the centre and farmers remained inconclusive on Tuesday. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Minister of State for Commerce Som Prakash represented the centre at the meeting. During the meeting, Mr. Tomar emphasized that the government is fully committed to the welfare of farmers and Agriculture Department is always the top priority for Modi government. Talking to reporters, Agriculture Minister reiterated that the new Farm Reform Acts, which have been brought in, are in the interest of farmers. Mr. Tomar said, if farmers have any objection to these acts, then the government is fully ready to discuss with them to address their concerns. Mr. Tomar said they should not resort to protest as it affects the citizens.
कुछ विषयों पर चर्चा हुई है, लेकिन जब तक क्लॉज वाइज क्लॉज एक्ट पर चर्चा न हो और वो एक्ट कैसे किसानों के विरुद्ध है, उसका कौन सा क्लॉज विरुद्ध है, वो तभी तो दिशा आगे बढ़ेगी। सभी किसान बंधुओं से आग्रह करना चाहता हूं कि ये रिफॉर्म किसानों के हित में है और लंबे समय के इंतजार के बाद ये रिफॉर्म आए हैं। इनमें किसानों का हित है, लेकिन किसानों को कहीं भी आपत्ति है तो सरकार उनको सुनने के लिए, उस पर विमर्श करने के लिए, उसका निराकरण करने के लिए पूरी तरह तैयार है। इसलिए आंदोलन का रास्ता किसी को अख्तियार नहीं करना चाहिए।
The Narendra Modi government has accorded high priority to the development of agriculture sector and has taken several measures with an aim to transform the sector in the country as well as to raise farmers' income. The government has recently implemented new farm acts in this direction, which include Farmers' Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020 and the Farmers' Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. More from our correspondent.
The Farmers' Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020 will promote barrier-free interstate and intrastate trade and commerce outside the physical premises of markets notified under state agricultural produce marketing legislations. The farmers will not be charged any cess or levy for sale of their produce and will not have to bear transport costs. Under this act, farmers will be able to engage in direct marketing, thereby eliminating intermediaries, resulting in full realization of price. The Farmers' Empowerment and Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020 will empower farmers for engaging with processors, wholesalers, aggregators, large retailers, exporters on a level playing field. The farmer will have full power in the contract to fix a sale price of his choice for the produce and they will receive payment within maximum 3 days. With Anand Kumar, Suparna Saikya, AIR News, Delhi.
Home Minister Amit Shah has emphasized that there should be zero tolerance against terrorism. Mr. Shah was speaking after inaugurating the 55th Annual Directors General of Police and Inspectors General of Police Conference in New Delhi yesterday. Mr. Shah directed that security agencies should have a coordinated approach in the national security scenario and achieve the target of making India a developed and safe nation. While stressing upon the need to ensure safety and dignity of the citizens, the Home Minister underlined the importance of capacity building of police to deal with emergency situations and disasters. Later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also joined the conference virtually and reviewed the action points of the previous conference. A review of internal security situation was presented to the Prime Minister and Home Minister and discussions were held to improve the overall security scenario with more people-friendly initiatives. During the conference, a session on various initiatives of security forces on left-wing extremism (LWE) front was held, in which discussions were held to improve the security situation in LWE-infested areas. Stress was also laid on coordinated action with states to check the LWE menace. Discussions on the role of police during COVID-19 pandemic and implementation of safety protocol by the police was also discussed. During the conference, follow-up actions were also suggested to develop an SOP to manage various types of emergency situations. This was the first such conference organized by the Intelligence Bureau virtually. Paying homage to the police martyrs, Home Minister Amit Shah also awarded Indian Police Medal to 50 awardees and congratulated them on their achievements.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has urged the countrymen to voluntarily contribute to the Armed Forces Flag Day Fund. Speaking at a function organized in New Delhi for the customary launch of the Armed Forces flag pinning, Mr. Singh said, "Our forces have always been fighting valiantly to safeguard the sovereignty of the country." He said, in the process sometimes they have even laid down their lives, leaving behind their families or were rendered disabled. He said, hence, the rehabilitation and welfare of our ex-servicemen, the next of the kin of our martyrs and our disabled soldiers, is the responsibility of all citizens. He said, the Flag Day provides us an opportunity to fulfill this responsibility by contributing to the AFFD fund.
प्रत्येक वर्ष 7 दिसंबर को सशस्त्र सेना झंडा दिवस हमारे सैनिकों, शहीदों, वीर नारियों और उनके आश्रितों को उनके बहुमूल्य योगदान के लिए एक सम्मान दिवस के रूप में मनाया जाता है। पराक्रम के दौरान हमारे बहुत सारे वीर जवानों ने अपना सर्वोच्च बलिदान भी दिया है। उन शहीदों, वीर नारियों और बच्चों जिन्हें वे पीछे छोड़ गए हैं या वो सैनिक जो अपनी मातृभूमि की रक्षा करते हुए जख्मी हुए हैं, उनके प्रति हमारा बहुत बड़ा दायित्व बनता है। इस वर्ष पूरे दिसंबर माह को केंद्र, राज्यों एवं केंद्र शासित प्रदेशों के द्वारा सैनिक बोर्ड के माध्यम से पूरे देश में गौरव माह के रूप में मनाया जाएगा।
Noting that over 47 crore rupees were raised during 2019-20 through voluntary contributions of people, the Defence Minister expressed hope that people of the country will manifest the same spirit of voluntary contributions this year too. A meeting of the Board of Trade (BOT) was held under the chairmanship of the Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal through video conference in New Delhi yesterday. The meeting focused on the new Foreign Trade Policy FTP 2021-26 and the strategies and measures to be taken in order to take forward domestic manufacturing and exports. In his opening remarks, Mr. Goyal said that our mission is to build a stronger nation and achieve transformational goals together with the states. He expressed confidence that with the collective efforts of all the states and central government, they will all work together for the better future of the people of India.
Minister for Coal and Mines Prahlad Joshi has said that the government is coming up with many structural reforms in the mining sector to realize its true potential. He said the proposed structural changes in the mining sector aim to increase participation of the private sector in mineral exploration. They will also redefine the standard of exploration required for auctioning of blocks, for prospecting, license-cum-mining lease, and open acreage licensing policy for allocation of mining rights. He said it will give a major boost to the production of minerals in the country. Mr. Joshi was addressing the 15th edition of Global Mining Summit and International Mining and Machinery Exhibition yesterday. Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank has set up a task force for preparing a roadmap on imparting technical education in the mother tongue. The task force, set up under the chairmanship of Secretary Higher Education, will take into consideration the suggestions made by various stakeholders and will submit a report in a month. The decision was taken by the minister at a high-level meeting held yesterday on imparting technical education in mother tongue.
IIT Bombay's placement season started off on a good note on day one, witnessing the participation of 35 companies. For domestic jobs, the highest number of offers were made by Texas Instruments, Google, Microsoft, Qualcomm, MasterCard and Boston Consulting Group. The number of international offers on day one was 21 and the selection count by the end of day one was 155. Total selections including PPO and PSU by the end of day one were 313. On day 2, in slot 1, 16 companies made more than 64 job offers in various sectors. Prominent international offers were made by Sysmex Corporation Japan. For the domestic jobs, the highest number of offers were made by Oracle, American Express and Bajaj Auto.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Fourth round of talks between central government and farmers to be held in New Delhi today. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 94.03%. Britain becomes first country in the world to approve coronavirus vaccine. A US Congress panel blames China for planning Galwan Valley clash. All arrangements in place for cyclonic storm Burevi likely to hit Tamil Nadu coast tonight. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
India has leaped across a significant milestone in its fight against COVID-19. The number of New Delhi cases has been below the 50,000 mark for 25 consecutive days. In the last 24 hours, nearly 36,600 new confirmed cases were reported, while over 43,000 people recovered successfully in the same time span. With cumulative recovery nearing almost 90 lakh, the national recovery rate has leaped ahead and reached 94.03%. The total active cases in the country today stands at 4,28,644, which comprises merely 4.51% of the total reported cases. Odisha government yesterday approved the Unified Emergency Helpline number 112 to provide all forms of police assistance to people in distress. Launching the service yesterday, Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik said the consolidated helpline number would enable police to rush services to people in an efficient manner. Our Bhubaneswar correspondent has filed this report.
The helpline number 112 subsumes the earlier segregated helpline numbers like 100, 101, 108 and other for emergency services like police, fire and ambulance. These multiple helplines have been clubbed together into a single toll-free number under a center-sponsored scheme that is already functional in several states. The 112 single pan-India helpline number had been launched by the center in February last year to trigger emergency response to distress calls. Girish Chandra Das, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
In Karnataka, 1,440 new COVID-19 positive cases were reported in the last 24 hours, taking the tally to over 8,87,000. On the other hand, 983 people recovered and were discharged from various hospitals in the state. With this, the total recoveries have gone up to 8,51,000. 16 COVID patients lost their lives and total number of fatalities have increased to 11,808. More from our Bengaluru correspondent.
Karnataka Health and Medical Education Minister Dr. K. Sudhakar said that the state is fully prepared for the distribution of COVID-19 vaccine. Speaking in a function in Bengaluru yesterday, he said that 29,451 vaccine distribution centers have been identified and 10,008 trained staffs are ready and 2,855 cold storage centers are available for storage of vaccines. He further said that regional centers are being set up in Bengaluru, Shimoga and Ballari for distribution of the COVID vaccine. Healthcare workers will be given vaccination in the first phase, followed by frontline warriors, people aged above 50 years, and people with comorbidities. R. Murthy, AIR News, Bengaluru.
In a historic move, Britain has become the first country in the world to approve the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine. They have said that the vaccine will be rolled out from next week onwards. Health Secretary Matt Hancock said, the government has accepted the recommendation from the Independent Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA, to approve Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for use. Hancock said the vaccine will be made available across the UK from next week. Priority for vaccination will be given to healthcare workers and home care residents. Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine has proven 95% effective against COVID-19 in the final phase trials. In the United States, Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine could be approved for emergency use within 24 to 72 hours after the U.S. Health Regulators Advisory Committee meeting. This was stated by Moderna's Chief Executive Officer. The Food and Drug Administration is scheduled to hold a meeting on the 17th of this month to discuss the company's request for emergency use authorization for its vaccine. Moderna, which is one of the front runners in the race to develop a coronavirus vaccine, has applied for emergency authorizations both in the US and the EU after full results from a late-stage study showed its vaccine was 94.1% effective with no serious safety concerns.
Talking to AIR, Dr. K. Srinath Reddy, President, Public Health Foundation, urged people to take all precautions and maintain social distancing to avoid coronavirus infection. He also suggested to have a rich diet to improve the immune system.
थोड़ा सा दूरी मेंटेन करना बिल्कुल जरूरी है. दूसरा, मास्क पहन के रखना बीमार व्यक्ति को भी और दूसरे लोगों को भी. तीसरा, खुले हवा का प्रसार होना बिल्कुल आवश्यक है. हाथ बार बार साबुन से साफ करना आवश्यक है. और आखिरी चीज है, पौष्टिक आहार खाइए, बीमार व्यक्ति को भी खिलाइए और आप भी खाइए. ताजा फल, सब्जी और बादाम वगैरह, उनसे भी काफी आपका इम्यूनिटी बढ़ता है.
The GDP growth numbers naturally went down given the disruption due to the pandemic. However, GDP estimates of second quarter of financial year 2020 were quite encouraging in comparison to the first quarter. GDP for second quarter contracted by -7.5%, much smaller when compared to the contraction of -23.9% reported for first quarter of financial year 2020. More from our correspondent.
Between these two quarters, already a huge improvement can be seen in private consumption expenditure. Agriculture reported a growth of 3.4% in second quarter, the same as in first quarter. Manufacturing has grown by 0.6% in second quarter as compared to a contraction of -39.3% in first quarter. A comparison with other economies globally shows that India's position is better. Anupam Mishra, AIR News.
In Uttar Pradesh, counting of votes for biennial election to 11 legislative council seats started this morning amid tight security. The fate of 199 candidates, including 114 for graduates and 85 for teachers' constituencies, will be decided today. Out of 11 seats for which voting took place on the 1st of this month, 5 are graduates' constituencies and 6 teachers' constituencies. Graduates' constituencies included Lucknow, Agra, Meerut, Varanasi and Allahabad, Jhansi divisions, while teachers' constituencies comprised Lucknow, Agra, Meerut, Varanasi, Bareilly, Moradabad and Gorakhpur, Faizabad divisions. Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa met the Consular General of 13 countries seeking investments in the state. The Chief Minister said that Karnataka has secured the highest FDI among all Indian states in April-June quarter this year, amounting to over 10,000 crore rupees. The state has also attracted 50% of all investments made in the country between January and May this year. Last year, Niti Aayog had adjudged Karnataka as number 1 in the Innovation Index. With nearly 250 billion economy, the state offers opportunity in digital technology, aerospace and defense, IT, BT and engineering. The new industrial policy of 2020-25 has pointed out favors investment in every sector. The Consul General of Poland, Czech Republic, Spain, Slovenia, Peru, Mali, among others, interacted with the Chief Minister.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has said that experience of stalwarts from the film industry will prove vital in developing the world-class film city near Noida. Addressing a press conference in Mumbai yesterday, Mr. Adityanath said that setting up of the film city in Uttar Pradesh is a step towards realizing the dream of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. He clarified that he is not snatching away anything from any state, as the move will eventually help in strengthening the country's economy. The remarks by the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister come after leaders from the Shiva Sena expressed reservation on forcibly taking away the film city elsewhere from Mumbai. Today is the 36th anniversary of Bhopal gas tragedy. Thousands of people lost their lives in the worst industrial accident on the intervening night of 2nd and 3rd December at Bhopal in Madhya Pradesh in 1984. An all-religion prayer meeting has been organized in the state today to pay tributes to the gas tragedy victims. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
Various religious preachers will be recited by religious leaders in the prayer meeting at Barkatullah Bhavan in Bhopal from 10:30 am. A 2-minute silent tribute will also be paid in memory of the deceased. Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan will also attend the prayer meeting. In view of the corona pandemic, instructions have already been given to ensure compliance of the guidelines issued by central and state government in the tribute meeting. Bhopal gas tragedy is termed as the world's worst industrial disaster because over 15,000 people were killed after methyl isocyanate gas leaked on the intervening night of December 2 and 3 in 1984 from the pesticide plant of Union Carbide in Bhopal. More than 5 lakh people were affected due to the toxic leak. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
A top US Congress panel has said the Chinese government had planned the clash with the Indian Army in Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh in June. The just released annual report of the US-China Economic and Security Review Commission, USCC, said the evidence suggests that the Chinese government had planned the incident as Beijing ramped up a coercion campaign against its neighbors. It said satellite images depicted a large Chinese buildup in the Galwan Valley, including potentially 1,000 People's Liberation Army soldiers the week before the skirmish. While 20 Indian soldiers lost their lives in the LAC clashes on 15th of June, the Chinese had suffered casualties too. The report said Beijing ramped up its multi-year coercion campaign against its neighbors, provoking military or paramilitary standoffs with countries from Japan to India and much of Southeast Asia. USCC was formed in 2000 and it investigates national security and trade issues between China and the US.
The cyclonic storm Burevi is set to emerge in the Gulf of Mannar near Rameshwaram in Tamil Nadu this morning, as it has completed its first landfall near Trincomalee in Sri Lanka late last night. The Met Department said it moves north-westwards with a speed of 15 kilometers an hour. It would be centered very close to Pamban near Rameshwaram by noon. It will cross the southern Tamil Nadu coast between Kanyakumari and Pamban between tonight and early tomorrow morning as cyclonic storm. When observed last, Cyclone Burevi was laying centered at about 190 kilometers east-southeast of Pamban near Rameshwaram and 380 kilometers east-northeast of Kanyakumari. Heavy to very heavy rain is predicted at many places in the southern district of Tamil Nadu today, with the possibility of extremely heavy rain at isolated places. The Met Department has said the cyclone will gain a wind speed of 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, gusting to 90 kilometers per hour on its landfall. Its impact over the southern coastal districts of Tamil Nadu is expected to commence this morning in Ramanathapuram, and it is set to gradually spread up to Kanyakumari district. As the sea would be very rough, all fishing operations in the region remain suspended. Under the impact of the cyclonic storm, several places in southern Tamil Nadu are witnessing intermittent rain since last night. Some places, including Chennai, experienced light to moderate rain. The Tamil Nadu administration is making all efforts to ensure the safety of the fishermen who are involved in deep sea fishing. More from our correspondent.
124 fishing vessels from Tamil Nadu that are involved in deep sea fishing are said to be currently in the high seas. The State Fisheries Department has said it has taken all-out efforts in coordination with the Indian Coast Guard and the Navy to establish contact with them and ask them to return to the shores before the cyclone hits the coast. Its officials have been delegated to several coastal states and the Union Territory of Lakshadweep to facilitate their return to safety to the nearest points and to arrange for their stay and food. 120 other vessels that embarked on deep-sea fishing from the Tengapattanam fishing harbour in Kanyakumari district are reported to have returned safely. The State Fisheries Department has established control rooms in Kanyakumari and Thoothukudi districts, besides operating its state-level control room in Chennai on a 24-hour basis. Jai Singh, AIR News, Chennai.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to Chief Ministers of Tamil Nadu and Kerala on the prevailing situation arising after due to cyclonic storm Burevi in the two states. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said that he has assured all possible support from the centre to Tamil Nadu and Kerala. During a telephonic conversation with Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Edappadi K. Palaniswamy, Mr. Modi discussed the conditions prevailing in parts of the state due to cyclone Burevi. The Prime Minister also prayed for the safety and well-being of those staying in the affected areas.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital will have fog or mist in the morning and mainly clear sky later, with temperature varying between 9 and 25 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Temperature will vary between 24 and 33 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will witness mainly clear sky. The city will observe minimum temperature of 16 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 29 degrees. Srinagar will have fog or mist in the morning and mainly clear sky later. Temperature will hover between -2 degrees Celsius and 14 degrees. In Jammu, lower level of temperature will be 10 degrees Celsius, while upper level will be 24 degrees. The city will have mainly clear sky. Leh will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. The minimum temperature will be -9 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 8 degrees. Gilgit will experience mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening, with temperature hovering between -2 degrees Celsius and 16 degrees. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky. The temperature will move from 5 to 21 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, the temperature will hover between 9 and 25 degrees Celsius. Mainly clear sky will prevail. Chandigarh will have mainly clear sky. The temperature is likely to move from 9 to 24 degrees Celsius. In Hyderabad, the minimum temperature will be 15 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 30 degrees. The city will have partly cloudy sky with haze. Ahmedabad will witness a clear sky. The minimum temperature will be 16 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be 34 degrees. Patna will have mainly clear sky. Temperature will hover between 11 degrees to 26 degrees Celsius. And in Guwahati, fog or mist would occur in early morning. The minimum temperature will be 15 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be 29 degrees. In cricket, India will take on hosts Australia in the first of 3-match 2020 series in Canberra tomorrow. The second and third 2020 matches will take place in Sydney on 6th and 8th this month. Australia have already clinched the 3-match ODI series by winning the first and second ODIs. Last evening, India defeated the hosts by 13 runs in the third and final ODI at Canberra. Both the countries will also play 4 test matches. The first test begins in Adelaide from 17th of December.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. The news of UK giving a nod to COVID vaccine has made headlines across dailies. UK first country to OK Pfizer's COVID vaccine, shots next week, headlines The Pioneer. Shots to roll out next week, reports the Asian Age. The Times of India writes, hope is here. Hindustan Times and other papers quote US reports that reveal that Galwan clash was planned by the Chinese government. The Hindu reports the assertion by the External Affairs Minister that India will not accept less than bottom line in talks with China. CCTV cameras must at CBI, ED offices, police lockups, orders the Supreme Court, writes The Pioneer. Ex-judge Karnan held for obscene pose against judges, their families, headlines The Times of India. Kohli fastest to score 12,000 ODI runs, overtakes Tendulkar, writes the Asian Age. Republic Day chief guest, Delhi reaches out to Boris Johnson, is the headline in the Indian Express. And finally, top honey brands adulterated with sugar syrup, says the Centre for Science and Environment, reports the Tribune. Honey, the sweetener on your plate, may be sugar syrup, headlines The Hindu.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. 4th round of talks between central government and farmers to be held in New Delhi today. Country's COVID recovery rate reaches 94.03%. Britain becomes first country in the world to approve coronavirus vaccine. A US Congress panel blames China for planning Galwan Valley clash. All arrangements in place for cyclonic storm Burevi likely to hit Tamil Nadu coast tonight. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.